Going live. It's going to be live. You're live. You are live. Squirrel Kane ready to take some questions about squirrel hunting, the squirrel related things. Beware the glare of my baldness. We had a blast last night doing this. I explained last night that I don't have internet at the house and I have a business trip going on, so I've got an opportunity to access the hotel's internet, and I'm going to use it to answer some questions and see if I can help my audience out in any way possible. Oh yeah, better text LeBrad and let him know I'm live. I told him I would. There he goes. He's got it. Y'all start filling that chat window up. Anything y'all got to ask about squirrel hunting related gear, ammo, gear bag, season totals, season tallies, season opens. If you've got an opening date in your state, feel free to pop that on the screen. It's interesting. Some folks open it around August 15th, and that's mighty hot this far south for squirrels. Oh boy, LeBrad James on computer duty. He'll get here eventually. Waiting for the place to fill up, see if we got anything to talk about, discuss. Like I said, had a real good time last night doing this, had a lot of interaction, and hope it benefited the crew and the crowd. So hopefully some folks will start putting questions in the box. Our season opens this year, October the 15th. It's like opening day of deer season for me. And that is exactly how I treat it. They know at work that I will not be there. It is a required holiday for Squirrel Daddy Kane. Third weekend in August to February the 28th in Tennis Shoe. The Hills of Tennis Shoe. That's a pretty fruitful season right there. That's a long one. We'll run all the way to February 28th here, but a lot of times the squirrels den up and hollow up, mid-January, February, and things get slow. But this past season, we hunted our last day. Temperatures were right. Activity was crazy, and we split up and didn't film, and I think we killed 14. I limited at 8, and Brad got 6. Oh, second shift. My man on Instagram is missing it because of second shift. Wanted to ask yesterday, calls. Do I use calls? If I use a call, it's a lip squeak that I use with my hand. I don't use anything made. I've tried the ones that have the rubber, I don't know what you call it. Like, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it, but anyway, you can tap on it and it sounds like a squirrel barking. I've used those. I don't think they have enough volume. I prefer to do a hand call and see if I can rile one up. I've been using it in the yard at the bird feeder just to see how they react, and usually they'll scurry up the tree and start flapping their tails, and that's a dead giveaway to their position. 2 quarters, I've heard that one before. Scratching the, gosh, I just watched something on that. The crimp around the edge of the coin, scratching that together sounds like a squirrel cutting a nut. Rubber bellows are useless. I would agree with that. It's fun to tease your dogs with, and I enjoy messing around with my daughter with it, chattering at her with it. But yeah, I've never really used it in the woods. I'm not real sure the whistle calls the distress of a young squirrel work real well. It's just not something I've spent a whole lot of money on. I've got a few, and past that, that's all they are, is trinkets to mess around with at the house. All right, trying to get comfortable here. Thumbs up for the cup design. Oh yeah, Squirrel Daddy Kane. Oh, that's a pretty sweet design. I had a friend put that together for me. Like that a lot. Had them come running to the distress whistle. That's interesting. I'd have to try that. I think most folks have success with that in early season. I'm not sure that's something that works in late season, but I really haven't studied calls, so it's not a tactic I use. Squeakers from a dog toy. That's an interesting way to go about it. I imagine that would work pretty well. How about a demonstration of my mouth call? Anybody want to hear that live? I don't know how that'll come across. It might wake the other patrons of the hotel establishment up if I go to squirrel calling. All right, here goes live on camera. I better only do it once. Good. I was supposed to kick this video off tonight in my Russian accent that I've been working on for this season. But LeBrad's not here to tune into that, so I can't get harassed by him. Sounds good. I got a thumbs up for the sounds good on the squirrel call. That's all right. I'm going to try to use it a little bit more this year. See if I can get them to give away their positions. That's always a helpful tactic when they go to flapping. Oh, now my wife's chiming in and telling me that I have lost it by going live on the boob tube. Yep. I'm just trying to please my crowd. You got to interact with your crew. We all have this disease of squirrel hunting. It's a good thing to have. It's excellent. I mean, there's a whole lot worse things, a lot worse roads you could go down. This is a good thing to have a problem doing. If you didn't watch last night's stream, we went for about an hour and 45 minutes, which was mind-boggling, but we have lots of good questions rolling in, and I really enjoyed talking about the craft of squirrel hunting. We've got some repeat offenders here tonight in the chat room, which I welcome with open arms. That's a great thing. It is a lot of fun to talk about this. All right. Any more questions out there? Most of the people who I see in the chat room have were around last night, so they probably got most of their questions answered. The states I've hunted Virginia, I've hunted North Carolina, and that's for squirrels. We've got a fellow member in town for our business meeting from Utah, and the Kia Bob. That's how you pronounce that squirrel. He's actually killed a Kia Bob. That's a really unique squirrel that I guess is native to Colorado. It's got real long tufts of fur at the edges of the ears. It has a real soft gray coat with a white bottom. It's one on my list of ones to go after. See if I can, anybody out in the audience with a Remington 581. Howdy, Matt. Got any questions? Jump in and ask them. Ever hunted any species besides fox and grays? No, that Kia Bob is the one that's on my list to hunt. But no, we don't have anything. Reds, what do they call those? They got some special name for them. Thumpers ain't right, but that's what's coming to mind. Gosh, I don't know. Somebody will fill me in. The red squirrels that stay in the pines are real small. I don't know that I'll waste my time shooting those unless they were a pest. But that's not something we see a lot around here. Now, we do have flying squirrels, but they're tiny, really tiny. They're like a chipmunk with a bat suit. It ain't much to them. Taking a look at Instagram, see if anybody's got any questions. Don't see any there right now. Question I asked before I looked at answering some questions. Anybody got Remington 581 with a Winchester 62? That's a single shot. That's something my granddaddy always hunted with. It was almost like a cricket. You had to pull the plunger back in the bolt to set the firing pin for striking the cartridge. He used that with pretty good accuracy based on his roughed up situation. Matter of fact, the extractor on that rifle is built into the, I guess, the rail that floats on the bottom. So when you feed your round into that rifle, you're feeding it in by hand into the chamber. Action. When you pull the bolt back, this piece of metal slides and has a triangular ledge on it that catches the rim and pulls it out. He was always an iron sight hunter. I could never do that. I'm not even sure he had an optic on his Marlin Model 60. 8 o'clock must be a little early for some folks. How about out there in chat land, what is your favorite powered optic to squirrel hunt with? Are you a fixed 4 crowd? Are you a fixed 6 crowd? Do you like some variability? Is 3 to 9 all you're willing to go, or are you willing to put a Hubble telescope on your rifle like LeBlanc to James? The biggest scope I've had I didn't hunt with was a Citron S3 10 to 50 by 60. And the sunshade weighed 8 ounces. I don't think they milled any of it out. 4 to 12 or 4 to 18 from Kentucky Boy, I am definitely in that camp. I am in the higher powered camp. As the eyes age, I prefer it. I killed my first squirrel, that's a great question, with a single shot 410. I don't know exactly who made it or who makes it. Probably New England Firearms or Harrington and Richardson or something like that. But I killed my first squirrel with a 410. Snub Nose 22 revolver at age 8. Wow. They put you pistol packing young. Nothing wrong with that. That's pretty good. You gotta know your way around a gun to hit one with a 22 with a pistol at that age. Like good old iron sights on the Henry 22. You know, I've got a Henry. The action's great. It's lightweight. It's compact. You put a scope on it, it makes things a little bit more difficult as far as operating a hammer. Hadn't been real impressed with their sights, and it may be the year model that I have. I put a fiber optic on front of it, and I really hadn't messed with it much past that. As time gets shorter, as the lifespan gets shorter down the line, I try to have a time management aspect of if I'm going to go hunt, I want to be highly successful when I'm out there. So I don't want any issues in the woods. If you've seen any of my earlier squirrel hunting videos, when I was having those light primer strikes, you could see the reaction on my face in the scope cam of how aggravated I was with that. Luckily, I had a second gun as backup, but having a gun malfunction like that when you're out there to be efficient is highly aggravating. My problem was a DIP sear that I put in the rifle. I took the factory out, put the DIP in, and I had a sear engagement issue in the field. So I have promptly removed any DIP sears that I use and gone back to factory. No questions coming through on Instagram or Twitter. Not sure if there's any others out there. Old Sears single shot bolt action iron sights. That's definitely old. Sears ain't been making guns for years. You know, the oldest modern thing I hunted with when I started hunting with a 22, or when I graduated to a 22, my daddy had a Winchester repeater that's like a Marlin two-fed magazine. I forget the model number, maybe a 52, something like that. But he also had Marlin Model 60 that I used. Now, he didn't have great cleaning regimens, and those guns would consistently foul and jam. And that's somewhat where I started digging into the, hobby gunsmithing line, taking them apart, trying to figure out what was wrong with it, and why it wouldn't operate correctly, and, getting them back in action so I could use it and be effective with it. Do I bow hunt squirrels? No, I do not. Only bow hunted whitetail. Squirrel's a mighty small target. I would lose patience. And like I said, with the time spectrum getting shorter, I much prefer to spend my time being efficient in the squirrel woods, and a Suppress EZ452 absolutely works. Any more questions out there? Anything boggling the mind that Squirrel Daddy Kane can answer? I should have brought my squirrel beard. That would have been nice in my fedora. It would have gone well for tonight. Yes, I agree. The older Marlin, wow, let's try that one more time. The older Marlin Model 60 and the Glenfields, I agree, with the original micro groove rifling, were outstanding rifles. Outstanding. And Daddy's got one that's got the carved in the stock, and I love that gun. But it's not something that I currently hunt with. Coolest mount I have done with a squirrel. Well, only ones I've ever had done are fox squirrels. I have an all black with a white nose. That was one of the first squirrels I killed on film. Did I say all white, all black with a white nose? If I didn't say that right, that's one of my favorites. But I have a saddleback, which is like a brownish black, grayish back. It looks like he's got a saddle on his back. Is what I called that. With the black paws, black face, black tail. I really like the saddleback look. They're beautiful. And then there's one I killed that had a white nose. I killed with a 1022. That squirrel was extra large and has a beautiful, what I call tricolor color scheme. And I had that one mounted also. Really big squirrel. But I have most of them mounted with their noses facing north, looking off the side of the tree, and with their tails hanging down. As I explained last night, if you mount a squirrel with the tail facing north, as gravity defeats the fur and the tail, it will start to spread and open up like a dust moth, and it finally just frays out. And I got a buddy who's done one like that, and I do not like that look. Squirrels in my area to mount are about $250. If I drive an hour southeast, I'm looking at $150. So I always take the trip. All right. Cuz in the house. Cuz watching live. I love it. Any other questions out there? Okay. Howdy to you too. I'm not even going to try to do that name. Yeah, that looks like a trope. Well, I don't know if that's the right word. But anyway, move on. If I hunt with an air rifle, and if a PCP, I would want to go FX Impact, and it costs $1,600, and you can almost buy a vehicle for $1,600. Or I could buy CZ452, put a really smoking piece of glass on it, buy a case of Ely Subsonic, and hunt for years on end. So kind of the way I break things down monetarily when I look at a cost like that. .22 ammo, throwing the question out there. Fill it in the chat section. What is your favorite .22 ammo for squirrels? Used to, I hunted with Federal bulk box when it was $8.98 at Walmart. And back when my gunslinging days, when I was running a 10-22, we didn't know any better. How do I pound squirrels through the woods? I used my squirrel carrier that I wrote about on squirrelhuntingjournal.com. I slice a hole in between the tendons in their feet, and I use the large metal fish stringer from Walmart on a wooden dowel with an eyelet and a fishing swivel, and I run that eyelet through the hole I cut. So 30 mini mags, and a squirrel hunt staple. Hearing that box rattle around, and my grandma can hear it now. The Waltz die, the Neil Waltz that I can use to mold that soft lead head into a hollow point. No more ammo takers. Favorite squirrel hunting ammo? Throw it in the comments. Let me know. I love Ely Subsonic. It is accurate. It's reliable. It's not, what's the word I'm looking for? It doesn't show cold issues. I don't have cold tolerance like I do with SK Standard Plus. CCI subs, yep. But if they shoot anything like the mini mags, I can't imagine that they'd be bad, and they are a cheap date. I don't know Normatec subs. I saw Prime Ammo was doing a case buy for $2.99 for 5,000 rounds for their subsonic hollow point. I need a Remington Speedmaster. That is a classic rifle, and one I was on my radar for a while. It's a really neat design. And if Remington wasn't in bankruptcy and had any clout, or I could find an older model, I'd probably opt for one. I've never been further west in Texas. So no, I have not hunted Missouri. Arms Corps. One of the Squirrel Sniper Alpha team, Mike, Squirrel Assassin, one that digs the Arms Corps. And he is more of a traditional hunter in the sense to where it comes to shooting, such prefers a standard 22 with a high velocity load. Where in LeBrad James, we run most of the time. Have not tried the CCI copper. Have not. Being that we're still fully, I haven't really considered it. How about when we talk about it's like lightning never hits the same place twice, CCI, and let them know that. That's a great saying. CCI copper is like lightning. It never hits the same place twice. If I do hunt with solid point ammo, it's SK Standard Plus, and it's headshots only. It has somewhere. Oh, Squirrel those. I'm always looking for a reticle that ranges, because I like to something mil dot, half mil dot, take away line if it is somewhat thicker than on the S-Tac series. If I can get something that ranges from in to 24 power, 2.5 pounds, stuff is a whole lot. I don't need scope clearance. I have scope clearance issues with certain rings with the Nikon EFR, with of Tasco 22 ring or cheap weave ocular off the ocular is going to come in contact operated. See, it's just a reorganization. So, hey. I'm going to be here for a little while tonight. See how we do. My oldest daughter, sorry for the squirrels this season. Ding, ding, my friend, ding. You will have a smile you won't be able to wipe off your face. Our first season, our first squirrel. Wow, you're going to take the AK after squirrels. Holy cow. That might blow up. Yep, our season kicks off in a little under 2 months, and looking forward to it. Looking real forward to it. Let's talk something about pests for a second, as far as like mosquitoes and ticks. They use a military soap that the military has done for years to treat clothing, and the formula I have uses 13.3% paramethrin, if I'm saying that right. And you dilute 1 ounce of it with 15 ounces of water, and you can soak 1 garment. I don't soak any underclothes. I don't soak any shirts. I solely soak my pants, and I let them air dry. Once I let them air dry, I bring them in for 1 wash. Supposedly, per the instructions I have, it's good for 52 washings before the paramethrin is not effective anymore. But I have a type of clothing soap for the past 4 invested woods all over North Carolina. So it works for me. I take it from me. I caught it within 3 days of the tick bite and went immediately on doxycycline. But I felt like I had flu-like symptoms. My joints ached. I did get nauseous, and I had a shot to reduce that, but I did go on doxycycline. You use this early, and if you pre-treat your clothing, you're less likely to have these problems. Could I explain my procedure on making hollow points and where to buy the equipment? I need to put that information on Squirrel Hunting Journal. Neil B. Waltz, WALTZ, NEAL. If you Google that, you should be able to find information on him. He's a tool and die maker. His die sells for somewhere between $140 and $150 on the RCB, whatever. He sends 2 tools that come with that die that you can flat nose or me-plat the nose like an Ely EPS nose, or you can hollow point it. And you can hollow point it to the depth of your desire. You can make it look like a cereal bowl if you want to, but I can tell you from experience, accuracy sucks with that type of hollow point. I use a small divot in the SK Standard Plus that I hollow point to be able to cause the round to start a mushroom while not degrading my accuracy. So Google Neil B. Waltz die. You're not going to find a website. This dude's old school. You're going to find a phone number and a possible email. Matter of fact, you know what? I may be able to pull that information up here and stick it in the chat window. If I can do that, if I can tinker with this, because this is my second time live, I'll see if I can get that in the chat window. Yep, David Robinson. There you go. You've got the paramethrin trick that I also use. It's excellent, and as long as it's not causing me any issue physically or chemically in my body, I'm gonna use it. I'd much rather deal with the small side effects of a chemical like that versus having Lyme's disease and being. Do I play Fortnite? I've heard of it. I don't have. Is the sound coming through okay? Is the video streaming coming through okay? And I'm using a hotel Wi-Fi, so I don't know how sharp it is. Hopefully the paramethrin information will be helpful. I am going to see if I can't find Neil's information and post it. I can dig into my email. I know I've got his information, so I'll post it in the chat window. Give me a second while I'm looking for that. And I'm sure I have sold Mr. Waltz a few dies, that's for sure. I have sure give his information out. But he makes an excellent, excellent product. Cutting out on your end. Well, I apologize about that. Seems like to me, if I hover my mouse back over it, it reappears. All right, Neil Waltz die coming live. There's your intel. There's your phone number. There's your email address. There's everything you need to know about getting a die from Mr. Waltz. Don't be surprised if he doesn't answer the phone, and don't be surprised if he doesn't get back to your first email. He's a busy retired fellow. But it works on anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be SK Standard Plus. Anything it works on. You can make something that's already hollow pointed a larger hollow point if you'd like. Using kit components on some of my 1022s. You never show those rifles. Could you tell us about that rig? I can tell you about that rig. I have pieced that rig out and it no longer exists in my lineup. Let me tell you why. When you put a suppressor on a 1022, if it's not tuned properly, it will cause malfunctions. And to fire a shot at the same vicinity that I could, I'm going to hunt with a 1022 from now on. It's going to be high velocity ammo or nothing. And I wanted to use those suppressed, and they would not work for me. So I just did not use the 1022 enough to warrant having it. Kid ultra lightweight barrel, really good stuff. Brad James has a lightweight barrel. It's very accurate. The threading's pristine. It's cut at 400 thousandths, so it's the right depth for suppressors. They're very tight fitting tenons inside the action. Brad James has got a couple of the two-stage trigger groups. Outstanding piece of machining beauty. The kid stuff is top notch. Feddersen stuff's top notch. His barrel is heavy, got great threading, and boy is it accurate. But my ability to have that gun function for me, my ability to shoot one squirrel, walk 20 yards and go to engage another squirrel and not flipping the gun over to check the action and then going to fire at that squirrel and getting a light primer strike or having a stovepipe that I didn't realize I had aggravates me immensely. And I just assume run the bolt on my CZ and know when I run the handle back forward, I've got another round engaged and ready to fire. And there's almost 0% chance that it's not going to let me down. Simmons 22 mag scope from Cuz. Good scope for the money. And I won't say the mag has the adjustable objective. And for $50, why not? Tell me why you love the 1022. Ladies and gentlemen, LaBrad James. Brad James is here. Me and him constantly go back about the 1022. Back and forth. Killed 5 squirrels today using my dad's pump shotgun. Well, I hope season was in for you, sir. This guy having the garden issues with these squirrels. Oh, boy. That's got to be a lot of fun. It's like Squirrel Kata out there. He's taking them out. Favorite gun, CZ452, any day of the week. Any day of the week. But, however, caveat that by saying I've never tried an Anschutz. I've never tried a Cooper. I can buy a vehicle for what I can buy a Cooper for. So that's how I validate that. Tell me, what love story, LaBrad James, would you like to hear about the 1022? How it's the bane of my existence when I'm going to engage squirrel after squirrel after squirrel. Like we come up on a poplar tree, and it was like the clown car of squirrel trees. There's squirrels everywhere. Malfunction. Guns running again. Can't hit anything. Malfunction. It's the kind of gun that 1 minute you love it, the next minute you want to wrap it around a tree. And that's the absolute truth. True story here. I've seen LaBrad James miss a squirrel 3 times in the woods with his 1022 and wave over at me over in the woods and goes, "Hey, I'm going to need the keys for the truck. I'm going to get my CZ." True story. Can't blame the guy. CZ's going to run. It's going to hit what you're aiming at, too. Oh, there's lies in the chat. Bought a jarred trigger for my Brown & T-bolt. Do you have any experience? No, I do not. I would love to have experience, but my goodness, their price is insane. So I have a hard time ponying up for that type of trigger. If I could figure out some way to get my factory trigger below 3 pounds on that gun, I would use it more often because I love that push-pull action. Man, it's outstanding. It's lightweight. It's slim. It's a great walking gun, but the trigger is makes me want to throw up a little bit in my mouth. It's so bad. It's so bad. Wow. You ate moose earlier today. Must be in an environment where you have all kinds of game. Trigger was a Christmas B-Day, and wow, dang, you went all in 3 times on that one to get it. That's great, though. Cool. At least your wife acknowledged that was something that would be of value to you. That's a great gift giver. When somebody can look at a product and go, my spouse would really enjoy using this, so I'm going to spend the money on it. That's an excellent way to go. Apparently, LaBrad James has finished working on the computers because he's harassed me about 1022s in the comments. And I know you're yucking it up. You want a squirrel hunting trip with the Bone Buster? It could possibly happen, sir. Could possibly happen. We're open to traveling to places to check out. The Shenandoah Valley trip for us was really cool. We enjoyed that scenery, a lot of hills to walk. And I'm telling you, I think the squirrels in our area sent the squirrels in that area a memo to be on alert that LeBlanc James and Squirrel Daddy Kane were en route, and there was going to be some issues. I'd love to check out Tennessee, South Carolina, Ohio. I heard Kansas has got decent fox squirrel hunting. Alabama, Arkansas. Been invited to Mississippi. That's a long, long drive, but I heard hunting on the Mississippi Delta is a great place to hunt squirrels. Squirrel heaven in the Arkansas Delta. I have heard that before. Oh, LeBrad James wants to know about the sweet 452 style. Now, this is a true story. He found that gun for me. There's no doubt about that. That's one that I have longed for in my collection. I love it. I love the giving spirit in the squirrel hunting community. I do. Come freeze in Wisconsin. Some of the deer hunting I have seen in Wisconsin, mainly on the Drury Boys show, they got some guy that they're affiliated with up there. Wow, the snowfall up there is crazy. Amen. LeBrad James, check out Kentucky Boys comment. Hello. When he wants to put meat in the freezer, is CZ time. It is CZ time. I love the 1022. What a great design. What a fun plinking gun. We find that when we shoot them on the range, the faster we shoot them, the more accurate we are. It's kind of weird. Both of the ones I had my trigger work done out of Brimstone Gunsmithing. That guy does excellent second tier or tier 2 trigger job on that gun that makes it break at about 2 pounds. Puts a flat rimfire technologies trigger on there, the color of your choosing from their catalog, and for about $85, he does a heck of a job. That's Brimstone Gunsmithing if anybody's interested in looking at that. Had the question, will a 22 kill a deer last night? It absolutely will. Abram squirrels. I'm not sure I've ever heard of that. Can you tell us what region they hail from? I don't know what an Abram is. I hear good things about hunting in New York, but anytime I think about New York, I think about concrete mecca. But there's a whole lot more to New York than just that. But they got some real arbitrary laws. Those boys can't ship 22 ammo in unless it comes to an FFL. No suppressors. It's just bizarre. I'm surprised North Carolina give us the freedom to hunt with a suppressor, but outstanding. You keep the yak from. I'm surprised North Carolina give us the freedom to hunt with a suppressor, but outstanding. You keep the yak from your neighbors down if you're hunting a populated area. It's a great tool. Trigger jobs on the CZ452, always do them. Most of the time, the factory job is 3 to 4 pounds, and that's just way too heavy. So, Yo Dave kits found on eBay or Yo Dave's website. You can take most of the take up out of the trigger pull, and you also can reduce your weights down pretty low. So, I really appreciate cheap or inexpensive kit like that. Another well-known spring to use in the trigger is from Ace Hardware. It's the number 144. It's an excellent spring that will reduce your trigger pull somewhere in between 1 and 2 pounds, depending on how you work the square nut that's on the rod that fits around the spring. Any other squirrel hunting questions out there? Other game, possibly. When I'm squirrel hunting, once rabbit season comes in, I'm always looking for a rabbit. Rabbit is great eating. They always seem to elude me, though. Anytime we get a snow in North Carolina and I can get out and rabbit track, I enjoy doing that also. That's a fun thing to do. Did I go lag? I can't tell. Everything looks smooth on my end. Greetings from Michigan. All right, we got a Michigan squirrel hunter up here. I've got a couple folks who follow me that are Michigan natives. That's the state I would like to check out. Maple trees up there are abundant. When they change colors, they're a sight to behold. Interesting. Maybe they're like the keel bob that I'm talking about out in Colorado that have the long tufts of fur that go above their ears, and they have a real silky gray coat with a white bottom. Do any coyote calling from time to time. There were 3 of us hunting last year, the alpha team. We were all hunting suppressed. We had all killed 3 squirrels apiece. And when myself and LeBrad James were going to do the collection, about 25 steps into going to where our squirrels were down at, we had a female coyote come in facing the sun. She had no idea we were there. I reckon she had no idea we had shot. She was maybe smelling our dead squirrels. And we were able to take her down, which was really nice because that landowner has a thriving deer population that the coyotes are harassing. So anytime we can help a landowner out with a pest problem, we do our best to be able to satisfy that. Any questions via Instagram? Nope, doesn't look like it. Has everybody seen this past season's squirrel hunting video? And of course, if you participated in it, you don't have to answer that question. Rats. You just wanted to talk. Fill in if you got questions for LeBrad James. He's over there. Watch all my videos. You know, I got a comment the other day from a wife, and she said, my husband put your videos on replay and just lets them go over and over and over again. That guy's got it pretty bad. I'm not sure I watch them that much, but I appreciate the guys who do watch them. You know, putting the content out takes a little time out of my life, LeBrad James's life, but and we could definitely kill bigger squirrel numbers if we were not to film. We have a give and take. He takes one, I film. I take one, he films, and it's usually back and forth. And sometimes we double. Dapper. You know, I don't think it was my chamber fouling that was giving me the problem. I think it was reduced pressure via blowback from the suppressor. I think it was a suppressor-related issue. I think maybe a lighter weight bolt would have solved the problem, but at that point, I was no reeling me back in. I had crossed the line. It was over with for me. Thank you, Kentucky boy, for participating. Thank you for doing it 2 nights in a row. Good to have you here. Been hunting 58. Wow. That is a long time ago. So since your hunting tenure, what is your preferred rifle for squirrels? You know, I've tried to, and that was part of my reason for starting the channel. I wanted to watch something squirrel hunting related that I thought was good squirrel hunting. I've seen guys snipe squirrels off, you know, do a random video here of shooting squirrels. Field to Feast was a guy that I used to watch, and he's not real active anymore. I enjoyed his squirrel hunting videos. Like I said last night, Kentucky Afield puts together an excellent video series. They go out with feist dogs, cur dogs, and they put a segment together, which I like. But I wanted to create something that people enjoyed watching, that had banter between a couple of people. And, you know, we're not stiff out there all the time. We joke constantly. We're constantly back and forth, you know, picking on one another's gear or brassing one another about something. It's a time, and I hope that comes across on film, and I hope guys get a chuckle from that while also enjoying being able to watch the squirrel hunt. Another one of the themes for Squirrel Hunting Journal and doing the videos was the fact that if I ever became disabled or in old age, I couldn't move around anymore, I could still have value from being able to watch something that happened in the past that I had preserved on film or either in writing. That was important to me, and not to hog it all for ourselves, but to, you know, give value out there to the people who take the time to watch it. You know, I totally appreciate that. No, squirrel hunting is not easy to film. It is not easy to film solo, and sometimes it's not easy to film with a partner. Myself and LeBrad James has had growing pains through that. Hey, LeBrad, he's right there. Yep, but right there. And he says, go ahead and take the shot. I can't find the squirrel, but he's sitting right there. And the one that's coming to mind is the one that was in a pine tree that was perfectly silhouetted, that had he not got the shot, he would have missed the punch of fur coming out the other side of his head when I hit him in the head with that Eagle subsonic. He knows which one I'm talking about. Sometimes you just have to wait. And I'm telling you, the $10, $12 green laser pointer that I got with an 18650 rechargeable battery has been a lifesaver in the woods for my daughter, for LeBrad, for me. Sometimes finding squirrels is a difficult job. And I say LeBlind James a lot, but this man can see something move 100 yards away. He might be blind 15 feet in front of his face, but 100 yards away, he can catch movement. He goes, oh, there's a squirrel in that tree. And ears, wow, he's got good ears. You can hear a squirrel, you know, scratching or barking or doing that, and I'm like, I can't hear that. And he's like, he's coming from this way. So as much as I ride his rear end about kind of crap, he definitely has some value in the squirrel woods. Cool. I appreciate that, Kentucky boy. I really do. I will love to check that knife out, and hopefully you'll see it being used skinning a squirrel this season. I'd love to try that out. You know, I also watched squirrel hunting videos where people use a GoPro on the scope, and you know, it's just a wide-angle lens. Unless you're 15 yards away from the squirrel, it doesn't provide a real good image. If you're shooting something at 35 yards and you get to see the fall from that distance, you're not really getting the full impact of what's going on. So having a dedicated camera person makes a world of difference. Oh, I'm trying to get in your good graces now. Well, yeah, you got some value, that's for sure. You make a heck of a squirrel caddy. Having good equipment makes a world of difference. And yeah, spending a lot of money on equipment was something I was interested in doing, and I think collectively I probably spent $320 on both of the cameras. So I'm not working with any high quality equipment. They were both used on eBay when I decided to get into it. I figured if I was going to try it, I was going to try it on the cheap, because if I wanted to give it up, what really had I lost? Something that's making me smile. LeBrad gets a little tickled when crows go to calling. If there's an opportunity for me to take a crow when I'm squirrel hunting, I go crow focused. If they call and they sit and I can get one with my rifle, I always take that opportunity. That is a bird that is devastating to a pecan crop. They can be devastating to something like sorghum, corn. That's a bird that I do not hesitate to take out anytime I have that opportunity. Got any other questions out there? Yep. Hate the crows. Yep. You get an amen from me because you don't like them either. Don't like them birds at all. And I think the pecan farmers, I know that they stay aggravated at the squirrels most of the time, but a darn crow will do a number on a pecan tree for sure. Favorite ammos out there? Anybody news joining in? What's your favorite squirrel hunting ammo? I often get the question, not squirrel hunting with a shotgun. And that's something I did growing up, and I just like the rifle aspect. I like zeroing in, running the bolt. It's not loud. Even if I'm shooting high velocity ammo, it's not loud. It's not that loud. I just got away from shotguns. A lot of guys use those early season, and they work great. They're perfect for that, especially with all the foliage on the woods. Trying to find a squirrel with a 90% foliaged tree can be a difficult process, especially as much as they move. Ever use a whistle pig CZ barrel? CZ barrel? No, but I have read one decent report on it, and that's about it. I don't know how many people are actually using those, but I don't know that I'd be too shy to try one. LeBrad's got a Leilja barrel. It has decent accuracy. It has better accuracy from the guy who built the gun. And then it may be my bench setup as far as that gun being accurate. Most Leilja stuff is accurate. Our Feddersen barrels we really like. Our Feddersen CZ455 barrels, really like those. Using a shotgun, what gauge? What gauge are we talking about? I started with 410 and moved to 20, and then once I made it to 22, I hadn't looked back. .12 gauge seems to be popular. 16 gauges have gone by the wayside. 28 gauge. The guy I bought my first squirrel dog from reloaded for 28 gauge. That was his preferred squirrel shotgun. 1300 Winchesters. You won't find those anywhere anymore, unless you're on the used market. Gun's got a pretty sweet pump. Oh, bought it new several years ago. Any other questions out there? Well, let's see. Favorite ammo this year is Winchester Max 42 grain hollow points. Interesting. It seems like they discontinued that huge, and I've got a few bricks of them, the silver Winchester subsonic hollow point boxes. And while I heard they had decent accuracy, I have the wife must have given you clearance to come back, Kentucky boy. Um, while I've heard good accuracy from them, I had so-so accuracy with it. I'll definitely use them in my pistol because 0 to 15 yards are pretty accurate. But you start getting out in 50-yard land, and I can't reliably depend on that round. It has done some weird things. 1 minute it shoots a tight half-inch group at 50 yards, and the next minute it sprays the next 5 like it's been shot with a shotgun blast. Buckshot. It's not a round that I can rely on in the old format, the old silver box. I haven't tried the blacks, so I don't have a clue about that ammo. I think the turn off for Ely Subsonic is price. Waterfowl. I have hunted doves. I have not hunted ducks. Something in me has no desire to get up at the butt crack of dawn and wade into broken ice in water that I may go above my head in and drop my shotgun in. That just doesn't tickle my appetite. Not something I'm big on attempting. Film to duck hunt. Doves, something I did when I was younger. I don't particularly care for the taste of dove. It tastes like liver to me. Doing it right, but that's a lot of fun to partake in. And our season used to open at noon, and holy cow, is it hot at noon and the doves ain't flying. They've started. I want to say it's at sun. If it's not, it's 30 minutes before sunrise. And he's a fan of Velocity Hollow Point. I'm a fan of Ely Havilland. And mini mags are usually always on the bill. He's got a CZ452 that'll lights out shoot mini mags. LeBrad James has got one that looks like an absolute dumpster dive find CZ452, but it will flat shoot CCI mini mags. It might not be a looker, but you'll lose your bet if you challenge him. It's a good shooting rifle. On one of the videos I shot, or LeBron James and I shot way on early, I had a squirrel that I missed 4 or 5 times. I was shooting the Gila subsonic 38 grain hollow points at that squirrel, and I don't think I bumped my scope. I don't really know what happened, but I ended up being an inch high and an inch left. And you talk about frustrated in squirrel woods when you can't hit something. And I pretty much got off the Gila train at that point in time. Not that they're not making quality ammo, but it put a bad taste in my mouth and I moved along. Best sighting range for subsonic rounds. That is an excellent question. I sight them in at 50 yards, but you'll need to know your 35-yard dope and your 25-yard dope and your 15-yard dope. That's the reason I made the squirrel sight-in video. If I'm dead on at 50, I'll be half an inch high at 35. I'll be half an inch high at 25, and I'll be just about an inch low at 15. The inch low at 15 is coming from the height of the scope over the bore. And that's critical to know, especially if you're going to squirrel hunt, because you're going to have a shot that's going to happen at 10 yards, 12 yards, 15 yards, and you're going to shoot at it and you're going to miss, and you're going to say, how did that happen? He was on the end of my barrel. How did that happen? And LeBrad James, you feel free to chime in now. How did that happen? It's happened to me. It's aggravating to 1 minute shoot a squirrel at 50 yards, pinpoint accuracy, right in the noggin. And then your next shot's at 12 and you just miss. You just miss. So definitely sight in at those 50 because I know my drops. Plus, I use iStreetLock app. I have every gun I squirrel hunt with lined up in that app so I can pull up said gun with said optic. If I find out my squirrel's at 68 yards, I can punch in 68 yards and I can drag my slider to the proper power to line up the proper mil dot. It's that simple these days. If I sight in with high velocity rounds, let's talk about that for a second. I have found that if I'm on at 50, I'm on at 25. I haven't done any shooting past that distance, so I couldn't tell you. But I know mags and high velocity Ely, if I'm on at 50, I'm on at 25. So it's at that distance, there's no math involved. It's just hold, just 5. So it's at that distance, there's no math involved. It's just hold, just put your hold on. What safety guidelines do you follow for shooting your hold on? What safety guidelines do you follow for shooting up into trees? It's preferable to have a backstop. Most of the areas we hunt are so rural that I don't particularly worry about that. I like my height. I like my angle to be right. Myself and LeBrad discuss back and forth constantly if shots are a go or a no-go. And depending on where the squirrel's at on a tree, his height on the tree, our height in relation to him, we make a call on that. But to me, if you'll shoot a pellet rifle in 22 caliber up in the air, I don't see how that's much different than firing a 22 caliber powder projected round in the air. I don't see how that's much different. 20 to 25 yard, I'm more on the 25 to 30 yard line as far as like perfect shot. However, knowing that I'm a half-inch high at 25 and 35 yards, I have to aim accordingly, meaning that if I wanted to hit in the eye or the temple region, I'm going to aim at the bottom of the jaw. That's where I'm going to put my crosshairs, just so I have that, knowing that I'm going to make my impact higher. I've also heard guys, like if they have a side profile of a squirrel, they shoot at the neck so that if they're high, they hit the head. If they're low, they hit the vitals. If they're on, they hit the neck. They're all lethal shots. That silent here. Waiting for some more questions to roll in. Looking about an hour and 12 minutes in. I'll probably let this run to about an hour and 30 unless things get hot and heavy, and I'll keep answering questions. Indiana state line hunt both states. Season will be open September 15th. Question is what is the temperatures like on September 15th in Michigan, in your area? I know Indiana's got fox squirrels. Also tell us, does Michigan have them, or your area of Michigan? Our fox squirrel limits in North Carolina is dependent upon county. Not all counties have fox squirrels in North Carolina. If you're lucky enough to live in one or there's game land in one, you are allowed to take one fox squirrel per day with a 10 fox squirrel per season limit. Because they don't have the breeding schedule that grays do, and they also are more sparsely populated. They're more territorial. That's the right way to say it. It's warm. Let's say October 15th for us in North Carolina. We're looking at a morning low of maybe 50 to 55, 50 to 60. Daytime highs could range anywhere from 72 to maybe 85, depending on how warm it is. Favorite scope power? Oh, that's a drop in the bucket, LeBrad James. The Hubble telescope is what you love. Me, if I could have a 4 to 24, that would be perfect. Advice on getting into using compensator as cheaply as possible. When you're talking about compensator, I'm assuming you're meaning something that's going to reduce the recoil of the rifle. Or are you talking about suppressor or silencer? Wow, 60s is the average temperature. That's got to be really nice. But there again, the trade-off is in January, what are we talking? In the single digits, snow all over the ground. If you are speaking of, if you could mount the Hubble scope on, ain't no doubt. If I could get rings for it and mount it for you, you'd shoot it. There's no doubt. Compensators. If you are truly talking about a compensator, I like Tandem Cross. Tandem Cross makes a pretty excellent compensator. I know Tactical Solutions makes one, but I don't know that it has any ability to reduce the recoil or the rise of the rifle. But I do find that the Tandem Cross works pretty well on a handgun, so I imagine it will work just as well on a rifle. Suppressor. Advice on getting into using one as cheaply as possible. I discussed this a little bit last night. Whatever you do, do not spend the extra money and get a stainless steel baffle stack, whether it be K-baffle or whether it be monocore. The extra 3 ounces you will not fill in the woods, but it will pay dividends when it comes time to clean that suppressor. I have an aluminum Gemtech that is aluminum non-anodized. At 150 rounds, I have to use a wooden dowel to beat those baffles out of the can shell. I can fire my dead air mask, which are stainless baffles. They're K baffles. I can fire it to 1,500 rounds, maybe 2,000 rounds. I do have to use a dowel to get it out at that point in time, but it's no ways as difficult. And I can throw those baffles in my stainless steel tumbler with a little bit of Lemmy Shine and water. And in about 3 hours, I've got to do some minimal scraping with a flathead screwdriver, small flathead screwdriver, and I'm back in business. It is tone-wise, it is one of the best cans on the market. And you're probably, I think their minimum advertised pricing is $3.99. If you're looking at something that is very close to that, that's going to have the same type of baffle system in it, the Silencer Co. Spectre 2 is in that league. It's a little bit more aggressive on the outside as far as screwing it on and the adapters that it's made with, but I'm impressed with it. I got one of those in suppressor gel right now, waiting for it to be clear because my daughter is going to fall into squirrel hunting again this year, and she's not going to want to do it any other way than suppressed, and I don't want to give up my suppressor, so you got to add another one to the list. Huntertown Arms was a place we started looking at early on, but they have gone defunct now, so I'm glad we didn't buy there. Liberty makes a decent can. Thunder Beast makes a decent can. They're expensive. The Gemtech G-Core that they make now is not bad. I want to say that baffle stack is still aluminum though, and if I wanted to have mine record to that, they want an additional $250 to the $325 that I've already paid them plus the tax stamp. So I'm at $525, and they want an additional $250 to record a mono. Nah, I think I'll just keep it the way it is. You know, I don't clean the rifle much during season. If we find a fall off in accuracy, we paper test at that point. If we find out that it is giving us accuracy issues, it's usually a dry patch with a bore rod, and then we go shoot a little bit more to see if the accuracy comes back. It's usually not something we have a problem with, but I would recommend on a brand new rifle to shoot 150, 300 rounds just to get the barrel seasoned. Something cheap, not something like Thunderbolts, but auto match. Run a box of auto match through the gun just to season the barrel. You may have a lead buildup ring in the chamber by the lead, the Leade, the lead, which I have taken a bronze bristle brush and bent at a 90-degree angle so that I can use it to scrape in and outside of the chamber if I have a lead ring buildup where I clean. I rarely use bore solvent in my 22 barrels because most 22 ammo is lubed, be it paraffin wax or some type of lubrous wax. And I think things stay pretty clean. Fox or Gray in Kentucky is 6 for daily. I want to say when we went to the Shenandoah Valley, it was 5 or 6, and it could be any combination, kind of like yours. Yours is. If you're looking at a suppressor out there, tell me which ones you've been looking at. See if I know anything about those. But honestly, the dead air mask, LeBrad uses Thompson Machine. I forgot to mention those. Thompson Machine makes really good suppressors also. It's 2 aluminum monocores that are fairly easy to disassemble. And the problem we have with the aluminum monocore is the way they cut the baffle channels in there. It's hard to find a brush that will fit in those channels to clean them effectively. Usually we drop that monocore in a ultrasonic cleaner, which goes in it because if it's non-anodized, it'll leak the baffle stack. Non-anodized, it'll leak the baffle stack or to eat the monocore. Mask is made out of stainless and titanium components, so there's no worry. All right, are they called boomers in Mississippi? What rifle you bought? Going to sight inside is 0 magnification for us guys who enjoy magnification optics. You got roll with it. 5 times by 30 yards. If your eyes are better than mine, sight in mud. And I thank you so much for watching. And I thank you so much for watching. That leads me to think about a budget that's going to give power. That's going to be the Nikon BDC 150 rimfire is not a bad choice. I'm not a real fan of their spot-on drop compensation open circle thing they got going on. And it's parallaxed at 50 yards. I think it's 50 yards. Nah. If that floats your boat, great. If it doesn't and you can pony up the extra coin, the Nikon EFR. Hands down. You got AO, focuses down at 10 yards. You've got a semi-precision reticle with a dot. You've got no holdover capability, but you're only working from 50 yards back to you. You've got some capability. That gun's got, that scope's got great glass for what you pay. Nebraska. Can't say I've been to that state. I've never been any further west than Texas. And where I was at in Texas, they didn't have squirrels. Tell me if I'm right. Are reds called boomers down in Mississippi? Oh, get stiff. Questions coming through on the Twitter or the Instagram. But I'm glad those who have joined in and maybe found some value from this content have joined in. Glad to chat it up. This is like AA for squirrel hunters. I know LeBrad James is itching to go. I'm definitely itching to go. October 15th, we are ready for you. Maybe a few more minor adjustments on a couple of rifles. We're ready to fly into the squirrel woods full force. Ready to get my daughter back out there and see if she can pick up where she left off with the rifles. I had to get her shooting a little bit before season starts, just to exercise that muscle a little bit. Y'all call them fox squirrels. Okay. So y'all have got the typical fox squirrels that are like what I would call an Ohio or Virginia fox squirrel, where it's gray with a little bit of red fringes on it that come around and follow the tail down. And then y'all have got something like we do in the southeastern fox squirrel, where you've got color variety that may be black or tricolor or saddleback or something like that. But the little pine squirrels around here that we never see, they're a little bit bigger than a chipmunk. They're referred to as boomers, and I couldn't think of that name earlier. LeBrad James, any thoughts? Any closing thoughts, LeBrad James? Are you talking as far as shooting goes, when you're talking about grip pressure and breathing, are you talking about on the bench, or are you talking about in the field? Because it's a whole different world in the field. If it's from the bench, I try to have my crosshairs above my intended target. And as I exhale, let those crosshairs drop into the center of the target as I start to press the trigger. I usually let my thumb ride on the same side of the gun that my trigger finger's on. I usually don't wrap it around because that causes a torque issue. I differ between if I'm holding the rifle tight, rifle loose. It's really rifle specific. Some rifles like to be held tight on the bench. Some like to be held. Sawhorse legs built onto it, so I don't get I'm shooting from. My most accurate way to shoot is prone. It's the most comfortable way to shoot, but it's one of the most accurate via bipod and a squeeze sock bag in the rear that I use to elevate or decline in elevation or declination, I guess you would say. Patiently waiting for season to start. Amen to that. So I'm not real heavy on my grip pressure. I try to pull straight back. It doesn't work all the time. And things that I find that if I'm not holding the rifle properly, if it's too loose, there's still enough recoil that I find that I shoot high right. And that just, I guess that's just indicative of the style I use. But I like to shoot penny-sized groups at 50 yards inside the circle that I've drawn. That's usually the size of the outside diameter of a nickel or one of those 1-inch orange dots that I use to sight in with. I prefer to hit inside that, and I prefer all my rounds to be touching. What usually happens is you get 4 that impact one another, and then that 5th one's either shot fatigue low powder charge, or just crappy technique by that point, and it always flies. Always a flyer. You shoot a spectacular group and then Flyer City. Mo Outdoors TV, good to see you. I don't know how much longer I'm on be here. Been rolling here for about an hour and 30, it looks like. See if I got any other questions rolling in, and if there is any, I will be glad to try to answer them. Unless, like I said, things get hot and heavy, and I got to go giving out all this wealth of squirrel hunting information. But if you got questions that are burning to ask, go ahead and ask away. I really wish, and I talked a little bit I talked a little bit last night about Clear Ridge and Clear Ridge Optics, and if you don't know about them, check them out. And I am trying to get them to offer their discount on Clear Ridge products. They do not currently offer them, but with enough push, with enough feedback from our viewers, if you're interested in a Clear Ridge optic, please go over there to Clear Ridge Optics or the Optic Zone and drop them an email and request the coupon code because you saw it on Squirrel Hunting Journal or you saw it on the Nabone Buster channel on YouTube. Oh, LeBrad with the jokes. That's a line from Despicable Me. Why do I look so old? Or why am I so old? It must be the light in LeBrad. It's just not right. But go over to Clear Ridge Optics and let them know I sent you, and please ask them to honor their coupon code for Clear Ridge Optic if you are interested in trying it out. Their RM line's good if you like 3 to 9. My favorite's their Ultra XP line that goes anywhere from 4.5 to 14, from 6 to 20. I like the mil dots; they're my favorite, but you get a couple of reticle options. And then they've got the higher line, the XP5. But go over there and let them know. They offer a coupon code that runs on Optic Zone, and it is not allowed on Clear Ridge products. And I would appreciate if they would, and I'd love for you to go over there and get some benefit with that. Can you get a chipmunk to sit still long enough to kill one? That's the question. Them jerkers are all over the place, and they make that high-pitched, shrill noise, and they're fast little boogers. There ain't no doubt. That's a whole lot of money wasted on such a small piece of meat. It's like we're starting to pick up numbers here. So if you're new to the chat, jump in and ask any questions you got about squirrel hunting products, ammo, that kind of stuff. Do I like archery? Yes, I have bow hunted for deer. If it gives you any idea of how long ago that's been, I have a Matthews DXT. Send me pictures of squirrels we get Sunday. Send them to squirrelhuntingjournal@gmail.com. Let me type that in the box there. Just attach it and send it to me there. I'll be glad to check it out. I love to get squirrel reports. That's great. Shotguns for squirrels, I did when I was younger. 410 was what I started with. 20 gauge is what I moved to after that. And then from there, I found a 22 and have not looked back. Shotguns are loud. They recoil more. I prefer to be as silent as possible. And via via the 22. That's how I fixed that problem. Wow, that is, and while I would love to do it, I certainly don't. I'm not asking for a handout or anything like that to boost my channel numbers. When I started this channel, I was planning on it to be organic. You know, if you like it and you want to sub, go for it. I don't pressure that stuff. I don't pressure thumbs up and likes. I like to look at that type of stuff and go, wow, somebody found some value for that, so they took the time to click the thumbs up. But maybe we can work something out. If y'all are interested in the comment section, sound off. Pistol for squirrel hunting. Yes, I have. I have used it in conjunction with a rifle because, as I spoke earlier, I would much prefer to take a 10 to 15 yard shot with an iron sighted pistol or red dotted pistol versus a rifle, because if you forget about the 1.5 inches of raise of optic over barrel on your rifle, you will more likely miss at 10 to 15 yards with a rifle than you will at 50. It's just something folks forget about. So you've got to count for holdover at that distance. Still hunting versus stalking, LeBrad James. If I'm solo, I like stalking. If we're hunting in tandem, still hunting is about the easiest way to do that. However, if the squirrels fail to cooperate in the area, I like to get up and move. Sometimes I'm a little impatient. But sometimes moving is one of the best things you end up doing. Kentucky Boy, throw your website into the chat window to let everybody go take a look at your product if you would like to promote it. Let folks see. How much is my holdover at 100 if sighted in at 50? I want to say it's close to a 6-inch drop. Give me a second. I'll pull up Streetlock for my most used rifle in the woods, and I will be able to give you a screenshot of that. And all this time I'm using my phone, you get to admire my baldness. 100 yards. So if I'm shooting 22.5 power on the iStreetlock app, if you can get a decent visual of that, my impact is the yellow circle. So my holdover is the 4th mil at 100 yards at 22.5 power. So that's how I would figure it out in the woods. If I'm 100 yards away from a squirrel, I have time to dial up that information. Sighting range for me is 50 yards. Subsonics, when I dope those, you're looking at a 35 yard, you're looking at a 1/2 inch high, 25 yards, 1/2 inch high, 15 yards is about 1 inch low. Interesting. You can make bacon with squirrel. I bet it is healthier from than buying it from the store. I would say most wild game is healthier. I enjoy deer for sure. that's a great comment. With red hair and a bald head, I look like a saddleback fox squirrel. All right. That is excellent observance. Gray or fox squirrel when it comes to eating? Grays are going to be more tender and less gamey. I am more inclined to eat the gray. And the younger the gray, the better. The less cook time, the more tender, the less gamey. Yeah, you're talking about a Gila Calibri. which is hummingbird in Spanish. That stuff drops like a rock. I fired it out of a 16-inch barrel Henry, and was trying to fire it at 25 yards and was hitting dirt, and the scope didn't have enough elevation to bring it up at 25 yards to make contact with the target. So yeah, I've tried. Great. It wasn't from me. All right, y'all want to go take a look at Kentucky Boys Knives over on Facebook? Have a look. It looks like he does some pretty work. You know, if you find that the white in longer barrels, which the longer the barrel, it will be.